Over to you, over to Jennifer Powers as well, Director of the Unplugged Coalition, campaigns to promote tech-free environments for children. Good morning, Jennifer. Hello as well to Rani Govender, Policy Manager for Child Safety Online at the NSPCC. Rani, why are you against the ban? What are the fears?
Hi, good morning. At the NSPCC, I think the first thing we want to say is that we are really concerned about the risks that children are facing online. It's clear that the harms are unacceptable and we need to do much more to address those. But we do worry that a blanket social media ban for under 16s isn't the right approach here. I think some of the concerns are that, first of all, this does undermine children's rights to participate and enjoy these spaces. We know that children and young people tell us that they get benefits in terms of learning, social connection, joining in with new communities online, and we don't want to cut that off if we don't need to. I think it's also when we look at what is driving all of our concerns here, and if we think about exposure to harmful content, I think there's a real risk that we drive children actually into more unregulated spaces where there aren't the same protections in place and they feel that they have to go online secretly almost. There is so much more we can and must do to make these sites much, much safer for children. It's right that the government are consulting that and making it a priority.
These are good points, aren't they, Jennifer?
Oh, good morning, Nicky. Um, I think that the parents of Britain have spoken up, and we see with our own eyes the extreme addictive nature of smartphones and the negative, harmful impacts of social media. And so, whilst there's a strong and growing evidence base that says we should restrict social media access until children are older, and that we should take a much more robust line about where smartphones are allowed, i.e., not in schools.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really pleased by how parents across the country are speaking up about this because, this whole idea that that children have a right to go online, I'm just not sure. I mean, we draw lines in society all the time to protect kids. We don't want them to join the army and go off and fight until they're of a certain age. We don't like them buy alcohol or be served in a pub. Why shouldn't we draw a line somewhere, 14, 15, 16, 18, wherever that may be, to keep
Is
children
16
safe?
right then?
I think it's a decent starting point. I'm open-minded on whether it should be 15 or 16 or whatever. I think you have to have a starting point, and you have to acknowledge, right, that there's always going to be one kid who's actually really mature and probably could have handled it a bit before 16, and there'll be other kids that it's better that they stay off it until they're 23. Who knows?
Would you reject 18?
I'm not overly fixated on the age. I think for me, in my experience dealing with parents and giving talks to thousands of parents across London and the Southeast, I talk about getting children through puberty. For me, it's like this is such a difficult time for kids. So much is changing physically,
Yeah,
emotionally.
you have to be fixated with the age, or you have to concentrate on the age, because you can't do a psychological assessment of every single child on social media. So you have to, similar to the other
I'm
things
very
you were
happy
talking
to I'm
about.
very happy to go with 16, Nikki.
Okay, 16, we're on it. So what about, you're very happy that children and parents are speaking up. What about the more than 40 child protection charities and online safety groups who are saying this could put children at greater risk of harm? Address the points just made by
Yeah,
Rani
of
Govender.
course. Sure. Well, the first thing I would say is that 40 groups getting together is significant. However, more than 200,000 parents have emailed their MP in support of raising the age of social media access to 16. So if we're going to really look at coalitions, 210,000 parents versus 40 charities, I think we know where the strength of feeling lies.
Well, we'll
With
find out.
regard
That's
to
interesting. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's
Parents
huge.
get in touch.
Yeah, well, listen, the word went out to supporters of raising the age last Tuesday. And within 24 hours, there were tens of thousands of emails that have been sent, and now it's more than 210,000. So the strength of feeling out there amongst your listeners is absolutely huge. But you asked me to address the point in particular. One of the things Ronnie said was it can force children to go to worse places. We don't outlaw heroin, and we don't say, oh, well, if you outlaw heroin, it might make them go and get a different drug. I mean, I think it's a faulty premise. Of course, there will always be children who get around it. Maybe they'll download a VPN, maybe they'll get a burner phone. The point here is to help as many children as much as possible. And of course, some children will try to get around that, but we have to reset social norms. We have to send a really clear message to parents, to kids, to educators, to everyone that, you know what, children are special, they deserve to be protected, and some things are just too harmful. You know, the other comment that Ronnie made was around there are some good things on social media and that kids enjoy it. And I take her point. Yeah, there are some things on social media that are positive. But like anything, we have to look at the net position. And overall, the harm that social media and smartphones are doing to our children in terms of messing with their fragmenting their brains, loss of concentration, more difficulty absorbing and retaining information is impacting their emotional well-being and their educational attainment. And we look at the statistics. They're less happy, they're more lonely. And putting all of that to one side, there's the opportunity cost of what these children aren't doing when they're glued to their screens. Now, I'm not a Luddite.
Okay,
I'm
hang
not
on.
saying
Let's
no technology.
a lot of stuff in there. You're not saying
A
no
lot of stuff.
technology. I accept that. No, all good. Fragmenting their brains. I want to throw that one out for people. And also making them less happy and more lonely. You're kind of counter that point slightly, Rani, aren't you? It could be quite the opposite if this ban were to be carried through.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I think there's a couple of things I'd like to say on this. I think the first one is when we're talking about where children might go instead. I'm not necessarily at all talking about them going to using VPNs and finding ways around this. I'm talking to all the services that won't be caught up in the ban, gaming platforms, messaging services. We've seen this. This, if we're looking at the approach, for example, that's taken in Australia, there are a lot of these apps, Gen AI platforms, that aren't included. And I mean, that makes sense. We can't, as we're discussing, cut children off from all spaces. But that means that we just know that the bad actors and the harmful content will migrate to those spaces that children will still be openly using instead. I think the answer here is to look at a comprehensive solution that drives safety across all these sites where children are going to be using them. And then just also to pick up on this idea of risk, the kind of risk that children are facing and what therefore is the right minimum age. Something that I think is really interesting to look at is an amendment that the Liberal Democrats are tabling at the minute to the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill. And the approach that they're looking at and the approach that we support at NSPTC is actually for minimum ages to be more nuanced. We agree that not all platforms are going to be right for all children. Some might need to be set at 13, some 16, and yes, some even at 18 when that harm is too high.
How would you differentiate? I mean, sorry, I'm interested in that. Between TikTok and Insta and Facebook, for example, a case-by-case basis, a platform-by-platform basis.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do that. And if this is something we do in the film industry, in the video game industry, and I think it's something we could look at here. Now, one solution could be that Ofcom, as the regulator, develops a set of criteria. They set out that these functionalities, these features mean your platform is inappropriate at whatever age that might be. The platforms have to put that on, and then we use Ofcom's really strong enforcement powers when companies don't follow that guidance and they don't follow their minimum age, enforce their minimum ages. It's really important to emphasise here that at the NSPTC we are not happy that this current system works and delivers in children's best interest, but we think jumping to another complete ban on children's access instead is not going to get to the crux of the issues either, and that's why we need to be looking at where are the real opportunities here to drive change for children. That is an ambition that we all share, and I think we have to look at the detail.
If we're going to really drive change for children, we're going to get them offline. We're going to protect them until their growing brains are at a point when they can deal with the cesspit that is the internet and the number of predators.
It's not all a cesspit, though, is it?
Yeah, listen.
No, and I think it's really important that...
Sorry, Ronnie. I just want to finish my thought. I think it's really important that we don't fall into the trap of going for this middle ground of having app by app ages. We need to be really clear that children are need to be protected from online harm. And I think getting smartphones out of schools, delaying the age at which children get smartphones until they're 14, 15, 16, and having a blanket age for social media access really simplifies that message, clarifies it for parents and kids, and really means we can move forward in creating a generation of resilient, happy children.
Which is the most dangerous platform, do you think, Rani? If I were to say TikTok, Insta, WhatsApp, or what else, which are you most worried about?
I mean, I think at the minute our concerns do unfortunately spread across a lot of these services, and they differ. We see some platforms are particularly at risk for child sexual abuse, for example. Some children are more likely to be, I suppose, what they would call addicted to and see what they see as brain rot content, and
Which
some
is the
is
most
where the harmful
addictive
content.
from those
I
dreaded
don't think we
algorithms?
can. Yeah, I mean, the algorithms clearly do drive that. I don't think as NSPCC we're the ones to say. I think this is the government have said they're going to consult with children on this, and I think that's really important that children are the ones that are telling us which services work for them and which don't.
I
But
think that's
I just
really
want to come back
dangerous.
to this idea. Sorry, I just want to come back to this idea of a middle ground, because ultimately all of this, unless we are totally saying children cannot go on the internet, which I don't think any of us are, there is ultimately going to be some form of compromise here. And rather than doing that based on all social media is bad, all gaming is good, or whatever it might be, I think instead we can use this opportunity to say these services have accepted that they need to do much more to be safe for children. They're designed in a way and children can use them. And where they fail to do that, let's make sure that action is taken.
Okay, listen, before you go any further, before you come back in, and you're very welcome to do so in just a minute, Jennifer Powers, likewise, Rani Govender, let's take it to consultation. Ross in Worcester coming up. Sam in Durham. Hi, Sam. Thank you.
Hello, Nicky.
What do you think? Ban for under 16s?
100%. 100%. I don't know if the lady that's talking now, if she's a parent, if she's had children having access to phones. In our case, our eldest daughter had access to phones since she was 11. After peer pressure, we buckled. We gave her the phone. We don't think she was ready. We gave her the phone with restrictions, and it was the worst decision that we've taken in our lives.
Good grief.
It's just, there's nothing drastic, but she's a different person when the phone's around. And we have gone through experiments of taking the phone off her for a long time. She comes back to the person that we know. We give her back the phone. She changes back to the person that we don't know, and that with restrictions. Apps like Snapchat, they cannot be deleted. We tried. We're not novices. We're very good with technology ourselves. It just doesn't work. It changes them completely. Her sister, she's now 9. She's never having one until she's 16. We'll give her a phone, a non-smartphone that we can communicate with her. She can communicate with her friends. Maybe she can text her friends. She can phone them. They can socialize that way. They don't need to socialize in the virtual world. And the argument that was made that, social media, if we ban it, they'll go to something much worse. Well, if we ban cigarettes, are they going to go and smoke marijuana? If we ban alcohol, what are they going to go and do? That argument doesn't work. That's very weak.
Sam, what's she looking at?
Yes.
What is she looking at?
Nothing really. It's just the constant presence on social media. And she's not an angel. It's the constant bickering and the constant draw to social media.
You know, I do use WhatsApp a lot because of my work with Smartphone Free Childhood.
Your Instas and your Facebooks and your X's and your TikToks.
I don't spend much time on Insta or Facebook or TikTok.
Are you on it?
I have handles. I don't really go on it anymore, no. Or maybe I never did. But you know what? As an adult, I have agency and I can make these decisions. And I'm not claiming that it's good for any of us to spend loads of time on social media.
You don't want to stop kids going on the internet.
Say again?
You don't want to stop, obviously, you don't want to stop kids going on the internet. Nobody wants to do that.
And this is where I really hope that some of the children's charities can come on board with parents, because we see the positive role of the internet. Our children can research volcanoes for geography or use the 3D printer in DT class. I mean, there's wonderful uses of technology, but children should be on them under supervision. One of the dads spoke about finding really cool, interesting content and sharing it with his kids. Absolutely right. They should be learning about this digital world with parents and within schools. They should not be given this immense burden of going on to social media and being expected to kind of make
Okay.
good decisions.
You've set it out. Thank you very much indeed, Jennifer. Jennifer Powers. Thank you to Rani Govender. Thanks to Sam. Thanks to Ross. Thanks to Craig. Thanks to the texters. Thanks to the callers. Let's keep it going.